So I'm here with 4 out of the 5 guys in Odd Project. Welcome to the podcast.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah, glad to be here.
We're happy to be here. Hell yeah, man.
Yeah, this is awesome. I've been listening to you guys since 2003, so this is kind of surreal for me. I still got the old EPs I showed Eric before we turned out the cameras on CD. So yeah, this is a privilege for me to be talking to you guys, and it's been really exciting to follow the new release that you just did.
Well, thanks for supporting us for so long, man. That's awesome.
Yeah, they were the demos with the stickers and everything.
Yes, it's OG.
Can I ask how you got those in Finland? Sweden, sorry.
I'm in Sweden, but no problem.
My apologies.
Finland is my hardcore neighbor. But yeah, I actually ordered them from your website back in the day, oddproject.com. So I guess someone of you sent them to me.
Right on. That's cool. Yeah, probably Christian. Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah, I was too bad Christian isn't here because we actually used to chat a bit on MySpace back in the day. So he is the only one I have been talking to before this, I guess.
Another throwback. MySpace right there.
Yeah. So if you want to take me back to the early 2000s and I guess when the band started out.
Yeah. Well, I suppose we kind of all met separately, but Greg, this is Scott speaking, and Greg was the first person I met from the band, and we met in middle school. Greg actually introduced me to playing guitar. Mm-hmm. But we didn't hang out for that long, but we reconnected in high school. That's when we were starting the band and ended up asking Greg to join the band. But Matt and I met skateboarding.
Yeah.
We used to skate together. We'd meet at a friend's house, pull out a bunch of ramps, and slowly, and skate, but slowly we started incorporating a drum kit and some amps, and we ended up getting more into music than skateboarding.
Yeah, I remember the guy we met, the mutual friend we had, was kind of the... one of the founding members before we actually did anything as a band, which is kind of funny. But thankful.
Shout out to RNA.
Shout out to RNA for bringing us together. And then Scott and I, we started writing music, if you can call it that, And I don't really know how to, because I got connected through Christian, through you, and then.
Yeah, well, I met Christian. We used to chat also. I don't remember how we got connected, but like you, Andreas, I chatted with Christian first. Before I ever met him, but we met we met at the high school. We decided to, where was it? Meet under the stairs, the arches, at lunchtime. And Christian was a cool guy. He's a drummer, so naturally we started playing. And and Eric was the latest addition. And Eric, we played with a different bass player. His name was Mike Gordon before Eric.
Shout out to Mike.
Yeah, shout out to Mike. And he was more of a punk guy, so we kind of, our tastes drifted a bit. But Eric was a friend of Mike's and was getting into hardcore as we were as well. So he ended up, turning out to be a better fit.
Yeah, we started, we were all into music in high school. I'm a grade younger than Christian and Scott and Greg. So this is Matt. So I kind of ran with a slightly different crew, but those were my main guys, my best friends in the band. And so I had to wait a whole nother year after they graduated to keep doing stuff, to keep doing band stuff more. But yeah, we started. I remember we kind of just got on shows eventually. I think we probably played a show after we recorded at least 2 demos. Yeah,
we started off playing at cafes. I think we played in ice hockey rink, some real
I forgot about that. Ice hockey rinks, that'd be pretty hardcore nowadays.
Yeah, grinding in the old days.
Yeah, but that's the general gist of how we all got together.
Yeah, you said that there were some punk influences first, and I think that's very you can hear that on the first release, the April 2002 demo.
Did you say April 2002? Oh, we don't really talk about that. Yeah. No, you're right. You're completely right. We were a little bit more into punk, and slowly kind of transitioned as we got into different bands, but we kind of consider we did a full album before that, and then we did the April demo, and those two were kind of we didn't like them so much because the next one is the EP October 2002 is the one we first consider our first real EP.
I feel like the band direction, like we kind of didn't know where we were going or what we were doing till then, or what we were trying to do even, really. Our we were young, but we were all into the punk originally at first. Some of the first shows I think Scott and I went to ever in high school together were at Chain Reaction, the famous Chain Reaction in Southern California that's still going hard. But it was to see like some gutter punk kind of bands, and ska punk bands and stuff like that. So hardcore punk influence for sure.
Yeah, Greg actually, before he was in the band, we gave him a copy of our April demo, and I think he told us he threw it out the window.
Yeah. So Christian was going around. I think I was in a class with Christian at one point. And it was one of those slapped together demo CDs. And he's like, "Hey, check out my new band." I was like, "Oh, okay, cool." Because I was into, I was more metal at the time. So I was more like, Pantera was my all time. So that's when it kind of changed a little direction, a little bit. So when I heard that, it was like not my cup of tea per se. So. I just
the sound is very different.
Just rolled the window down and gave that sucker
Good
a
old
toss.
frisbee toss.
Yeah. So if you still have that, can you just burn it like
the rest of us did?
Yeah, get rid of it.
Yeah, I only have the MP3 version. Never got the actual demo CD. So
well, there's no high quality version of that one. So don't worry about it.
Yeah, but because I think, as you all stated, the real Odd Project sound got fizzled out with the October 2002 demo. That's when you can hear, what's to come later on as well.
Yeah, that's right. Can we ask you a question, or can I ask you a question?
Of
Flip
course.
the table a little.
Yeah,
I was going to say, as a fan, it's always so cool that I know nowadays it's much easier for bands to get discovered and to have a fan base across the world. But we kind of, the era of when we were coming up as a band, it was still really remarkable. It's still really remarkable, like, to be able to do a podcast across the world right now, and with technology and everything, but it's much more feasible. So, like, back then, I'm curious, like, how did you find out about, like, bands in America and stuff like that? MySpace, you said, obviously was a platform that we kind of just got the tail end of Odd Project. MySpace music wasn't even blowing up when we put out stuff still, before we kind of took a break, but we won't fast forward to there. So yeah, how did you find out about us? It's always so cool to hear.
Yeah, MySpace wasn't really a big thing here in Sweden, but of course, American music and American pop culture is very big here. With but that goes more to the regular, radio, movies and stuff like that. So I've been a fan of AFI from when I was 16. So I'm about your guys' age. I'm born in '84. So I found out about AFI around The Art of Drowning, that era. And back then, they had a forum, like a message board kind of thing that you signed up to, and you can talk to fans from all over the world. And they also had like ask the band members section, and those kind of internet forums were really big back then. It was before MySpace and everything like that. And I remember there was like other bands section where people like recommended other music, and like this kind of scene that we now call like post-hardcore or hardcore stuff or whatever was not big over here in Sweden, so it was really, really hard to find good bands. So I was like scrolling through the different posts, and I remember I found Alexis on Fire. They have just released their first album, I think. And I was like falling in love with this album, and I went on the forum and I asked, do you know if I want to hear more music like this? Because that was something new to me. I've never heard that combination of angel singing and devil screaming in a perfect blend.
Great way to explain that, express that. I love that.
And then there was someone who like said, yeah, check this band out, they're called Odd Project. And I think you had the second demo out, the July 2003 demo. I think it was around then. And I just really, I think the first song I heard was Empty Moans and Sentiments.
Dim light shines just bright enough to show little more than a silhouette of a scantily clad picture perfect beauty queen face. Picture perfect
And I just fell in love with the sound, and it was like everything that I liked about that kind of music. I just thought you hit every mark. So I ordered the demos and followed you to the grave.
That's awesome, Andreas. Thank you so much. I mean, that means so much. That's seriously so cool. What was that AFI forum called, real quick? Was it like Black Sails or what was it? Was it named after one of their albums, or what was that? Because I had a friend that was on that, I remember.
Yeah, I think it was called like the Despair Faction or something like that.
That was it. Yeah, that was it. Yeah, I had some friends that were really, I mean, we were actually all huge AFI fans. Scott and I ran into Davey Havoc on the Huntington Beach Pier, of all places, in the summer at a Phoenix TX concert that was free. They're a pop punk band, if you're familiar, but ran into him. And so, that was like at the time, like, whoa. And it was just when I had just discovered them too. Actually, Scott showed them to me. And so, that's so cool that connection happened. They have had such an influence on music now, even to this day. It's kind of crazy to think about what they've done, So it's cool that even we've been impacted in this sense by their fans and everything. That's cool. That's awesome, man.
For sure.
Yeah, but it was a different era then, because now internet is so accessible. But I remember back then with the forums, and you really had to actively search for things. So if even though it was like the internet and you were talking to people from other countries, it was still kind of niche in a way,
Yeah.
It was like a special community in some way.
Yeah, the internet community was totally a different landscape back then. And I think like niche communities like that are kind of like nowadays maybe like Reddit could somewhat hold like a torch to it, if anything, but like it still doesn't compare with like there was something about the time it took to like be a part of the community. It seemed like, you know, the investment into it that was part of what built the community. Like it wasn't like about flashy profiles, and there wasn't an ability to like upload all these different like emojis or like hyperlink stuff so easily and stuff back then, like the redirect or whatever. But it almost was like more went into just like the process, you know, like the natural process. So that's cool too. Yeah, I definitely think that's different about the music scene. So much is different, you know, coming back into it almost 20 years later.
Yeah, I can imagine. Speaking about that, how did you reach out back then? Because I'm guessing there was not a lot of fans outside of the US, or maybe there was.
It happened a little bit. There was at one point after the Secondhand Stop was released, I remember Christian was talking about like, do you guys remember that Europe tour, like briefly? Do you remember? Yeah. There was like a little bit of talk about it. It was some parts of Europe. I don't know if Eric remembers that too.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I remember we were supposed to, or we were at least in talks with possibly going to Europe with maybe it was like Chiodos or something like that. I don't really know what came of that, or we just went on to a different thing, or what was going on. Don't recall, but that obviously didn't happen. I was also going to say, though, maybe the next closest thing was we did have a little, on oddproject.com where you were able to get our old EPs and stuff back in the day. We did have kind of like a message board forum sort of set up there as well. But I like Max said, I'm not sure if we had actually international people on the board. We definitely had people from other states, which was still pretty neat.
Yeah.
Because at the time we were still feeling pretty small and local to SoCal or the Southwest, and suddenly there's people in like North Carolina or like Maine that are like, come out. I'm like, what? But
yeah, it was always so shocked. It was shocking. Yeah, when we started touring a little bit, and just seeing that was so crazy to witness. So the idea of people in other countries. So now fast forwarding, like it is exciting to see now that we took a long hiatus, and during the intermin of like how the technology evolved and the relationships evolved, and then all of a sudden now we have people reaching out from across the globe and stuff like that. Like immediately when a song's released, it's wild. It's a crazy time we live in, for sure.
Do you remember how did the transition from being a fun project making those early day demos transitioned over to getting a record deal?
Yeah, so we had just finished up like our first tours were just like over in the summer, 2-week tours. Again, a lot of that was a lot of Christian involved, and we just like nobody was reaching out, so we just set up our own tour and mapped it all out for a couple weeks. We did a few of those, and then we were coming home at the end of a 2-week stint, I believe, and we were pulling up as our like homecoming show at a local place called Chain Reaction here in Anaheim, and there was a big sign outside the venue. It said sold out. We all kind of like stopped and like took a breath, like holy shit, what's going on? You know, and then soon after that, like we got a message from Indianola Records. Nobody had ever heard of them. They're small, like independent, record label out of like the East Coast. So we were just all pretty stoked, that all the hard work of all of us booking shows ourselves, getting to there, driving 8 hours to the next show and just packing up. There was 8 hours to the next.
Yeah, there's something different about being a band back then. Like kind of like what you're saying, like the process. Like it was a grueling. It still is a grueling process to tour as a no-name act. Obviously, for all the bands that do it, it might even be. It has its own unique hurdles right now. Even though like now promoting is so different. Like we'd go out. I can't remember the number of nights we'd go stand in front of local venues like Thursday, Friday, Saturday. Not even go to the shows. Just wait outside with a handful of flyers that we previously went to Kinko's and printed out hundreds of copies and used a big box cutter to cut them up, and then we go do that just to like go back to the car and find them littered all over the ground anyway, but it was all part of like the experience. Like any musician who's in a band nowadays, like whether they're having to post multiple times a day on several platforms and having to, curate their personality in ways that before they only kind of dreamed maybe about doing, it's interesting because like it's done out of a place of passion for music ultimately, usually if it's done, right. I think like with us, it was just like, we never were like, we all obviously had aspirations to be in a band, a rock and roll band that tours and stuff and plays shows. But it wasn't like, we want to be famous, it was just, I think it was like teenage angst, a lot of it, and the stuff you go through in young life, and having the opportunity to do it with your friends and to have instruments at your disposal and gifted people. Like the band are all way more talented musically than I am. This is Matt again, and I think it's been a blessing to have like done life with such a cool group of guys that like we got to put our experiences to music and to like kind of bookmark this like portion of our lives, because it was just a lot of hard work. And we did talk with one record label once before. Do you guys remember we had like a guy from Roadrunner Records? Yeah, like an AR from Roadrunner, but it never aspired. It just seemed like that's kind of what made us choose Indianola, even though it was like dealing with people that were like more down to earth, like a smaller record label and stuff like that.
Yeah, and the deal with Indianola, we signed for 2 records, and that's the 2 records that turned into The Secondhand Stopped and Lovers, Fighters, Sinners, Saints.
On the wiki page, it says that the Secondhand Stop was recorded in 2 weeks.
Less than 2 weeks.
Less than 2 weeks.
We were booked for 2 weeks.
Just rounding up.
Yeah, Zing Studios is where we recorded it at.
Great studio.
Great studio. Yeah, Massachusetts, I believe.
Yeah.
And
yes,
we got there, and as soon as we got there, we started, laying out scratch tracks, and their whole computer system crashed. It took about it took about 3 days for them to get everything back up and running, and we had flown, with the budget and with the time frame, and we had to squeeze the remainder in to probably about 11 days, and we ended up missing out on tracking a couple parts. I think we might have dropped a song. Overall, it was a good experience, but yeah, it was a little less than 14 days.
Yeah, it was. I mean, we had written all those songs. we came in with them written for a really long time, luckily. So, but we were still like pretty new to the recording process. You know what I mean? Like as artists and stuff. And that was also when like there was I don't know. Scott is our in-house producer engineer now. But like that was an interesting time in music where like everything wasn't digital yet, but there was like a lot of digital. So I think there was still like not a smooth interface necessarily. Like it seemed like it was more work, So it was quite a time for it to crash.
Yeah.
And so we spent the remaining 12 days or so, 11, 12 days just doing nothing. We didn't leave the studio at all. We slept in the studio. We tracked nonstop. Our producer, John, what was his name? John Fogarty? That's
Jim.
Jim Fogarty. Yeah, not John. The CCR guy. No, Jim Fogarty. Yeah, he was a champ, and he really pushed us through all the way to the end and made sure we got it done. So much appreciation towards him.
Yeah, and appreciation just for the studio, just for letting us stay in there and spend the night and stuff. I'm pretty sure that was not originally part of the deal, but once they were like trying to make it up to us, pretty much that their whole stuff had crashed, they were just like, okay, yeah, this is going to save us some time if you're just here when we show up to work. Yeah.
All my hopes and dreams couldn't bring you back to me, but you're not fooling anyone. What you said,
So after the record released, what was your how did it get received? Was it easy to do more tours, or what happened after the album?
I would say, in my opinion, I don't think it was any easier. It was cool because it got received really well. Like, and Indianola helped get it to the right channels and get us like a little bit of attention through like a couple magazines at the time, I think, like have little features in it or at least ads or something, you know? And so the exposure aspect, like having an album out back then was definitely like a bigger deal, just with the hard copy, like going to Best Buy, that was the biggest one for me, and like seeing it in Best Buy, like the way like where the O little thing was to hold the O and seeing our band right there, like what? That was a big deal, you know? Best Buy's a big store. And then I remember also when we were on tours, when it came out, we were on the road and seeing it in a little mom and pop record store was cool too, though, because that's they had good music distribution. So thankfully it got the word out for sure, but it seemed like it was a very gradual kind of build still. I don't know. If anyone else wants to speak into there, you know.
I would say for me, yeah, my take on that, this is Eric here. I would feel like things just started happening a little more after the album came out. Because while we were in the studio in Massachusetts, I remember we were emailing Avenged Sevenfold just to be like, hey man, I remember like we played with you guys before, like at a small place, Chain Reaction, and what if we played again together? That'd be crazy. We're recording a record right now. What do you say? And you know, it was just kind of like putting feelers out there, throwing stuff, see what sticks. And they responded, be like, yeah, sure, you're on the gig. You're going to be opening up direct support for Avenged Sevenfold at the House of Blues in Anaheim. What do you say? I'm like,
Yes,
okay, cool.
thank you.
So suddenly we had like a semi-record release thing, but not really, because the album wasn't out. We had just finished recording it. You know? And then later from there, one of the songs we were able to choose as a contest submission for Hellfest back when it was going to be in New Jersey in 2004, I think is when it was. And we, again, through the power of technology, used our platform of MySpace or whatever, just talking to people to say, go vote for us. It was like a thing where listeners could go and vote for their favorite songs. And we got to be, it was in like the top 10 or top 5. And then from there, went to a final tier of judges, and we won the top prize, which was going to play at Hellfest. And we found out while we were on tour, also promoting this album. So it's kind of like these things were like falling into place.
It was pretty crazy, needless to say. Yeah. It was wild. I was going to say, have you heard of purevolume.com? Do you remember that site, Andreas? It was also like one of the...
of course.
Like, there was cool websites back in the day, like hardcoremp3.com. There wasn't Spotify. Even Apple Music wasn't what it was, is now, you know, and stuff. So, like, it was these little... Not even talking about LimeWire or Napster things, but, like, there was unique sites that existed to download, and that kind of kept the community involved in a unique way, you know, because... there's not like Spotify contests. Bands could do contests themselves now. But like the Pure Volume contest, I think got us a lot of actual like exposure being on the main stage at Hellfest. They actually like had us booked. They had us like an interview for the DVD, and like we were going to feature songs on their CD. But like long story short, there was like some legal issues with the venue, and that was like the last Hellfest ever. But it was like playing with some of like the bands we grew up with listening to, so it was a super cool experience. We were like one of the early bands in the set. We were like the opening band, I think, on the main stage, but it was still really cool.
I think we played around 10 or 11.
Yeah, 10 or 11 a.m. at like an all-day festival with 3 stages. So it's like, take it what it is. But there was still a ton of people there, and like we got to like hang out with like Andrew WK and just all sorts of other bands, random people, and no, it was super cool. But like, we had a really unique connection. We went to high school with some of the guys in Avenged Sevenfold. So those of us who went to Huntington Beach. So I'm not close with Matt anymore, but like we knew each other a little bit. But it was still super cool of them to kind of give us like a kind of a good little break. That was probably like one of the largest bands that kind of took us onto a show like that. So shout out to those guys. Glad to see they're still crushing it.
Yeah, they also did like a punk to hardcore journey with their two first releases.
We all like,
That's
it's funny
not-
because we all know the same musicians and stuff because we all like went to the same high school. So I wonder how much of that was influenced, you know, because there was like our county, Orange County, California, is like a pretty like, I don't know what you'd call it, like a boiler room for music, it seems like overall, like especially kind of in that era of music. Like there was a kind of a good amount of bands cooking up in Orange County and stuff, from punk to hardcore to ska to, you know, So it's cool to see that. That's interesting that you point that out though, because there was a transition. It was the early hardcore days.
Yeah, that's probably true as well, because the influence nowadays, you can take influence from all over the world, but back then it was like, what are people listening to in my school or at my workplace or whatever? The influences were much less.
Yeah, that's a great point. Your sphere of influence was like, you know, you had like what your community listened to, like your friends, your high school, like whatever like niche genre you were in. If you were into like a skater, like, so there was like probably more punk in skating at that time. So that's probably what got me into more punk, honestly, because I would watch like skateboard DVDs and stuff in Southern California. That's a great point.
Yeah. What was the song that you had in the contest, by the way?
The one that won us the Hellfest contest was The Phone is Such a Blunt Object.
Yeah, The Phone is Such a Blunt Object.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's an awesome song. The album is awesome as well. I've been listening a lot to all of your tracks now to prepare for this conversation, and I think everything still holds up really, really well, production-wise, and everything. Nowadays, everything can be so perfectly tuned, you know, with all the digital, help, I guess, is a kind word to use.
Yeah.
But I think I kind of miss the like early 2010 era rawness that bands seem to like polish away nowadays. You don't get that. You don't hear those creaks in the guitar, or when somebody has the perfect voice always. All those things you can polish away nowadays. So I kind of miss the authenticity of the music, if that's the correct grammar.
No, that's a great. Yeah, you. By the way, yeah, your English has been. You've been slaying the English today. It's perfect. Yeah, I understand everything you're saying, and you're hitting some good concepts, like from like transitioning from one language to the next pretty smoothly. So props for that. But yeah, I think that like that was something we kind of thought about too. And luckily, Scott's a great producer and like engineer, so he has a good ear for like what like listening for those type of things, listening for all the things really. But yeah, that was definitely something like coming from the era of being able to write and record with like you couldn't scrub out the errors to a degree, to a sense. Like nowadays, you could pretty much hide any errors, you know, if you really wanted to, with music. And so it kind of created a sense of like, especially for the genre of music we were, you know, it kind of added, like you said, a rawness or like an authenticity to it. And so I think like, yeah, you know, that maybe that, I don't know, that maybe that is lacking in the music scene a little bit today. We tried to keep the new album, like it's interesting as musicians to be like, why would you want to record like poor quality when better's available? You know, from one side of the argument, I think is, you know, you could do it so much better now, but I think you do lose a side of it if you make it too good. So yeah, Scott could probably talk more about that though as our engineer. It was I mean, maybe we could wait till we get to talk about this new EP, but
yeah, I mean, I would just say that I agree with you, Andreas, that there's a level where it's too polished, you know, overcooked, you know.
Yeah.
And it's a fine line, and I think that we're trying to walk that line with the new album. It's definitely a little bit more polished than the old stuff, but hopefully not too much, you know?
I was wondering, Matt, because you recorded a few songs for during the late 2005 that ended up on the Lovers, Fighters, Sinners album. And then you left. If you want to talk about why you left, that would be interesting to know. Yeah.
I just didn't want to get ahead of it or take too much time up, really, like I said, growing up in the band, like through my high school years into like early adulthood, like these were my best friends. And so it wasn't really so much like we had any like internal issues as much as I was just going through my own issues. Like I struggled with pretty hardcore substance abuse for several years. And it kind of started in the years I was in the band. And, the band, it was probably hard to watch. I tried to keep it like under wraps, but it just got harder and harder to do that as my life got messier and messier. And eventually it kind of, I regret the way it went down for sure, because I made the decision to step away from the band because I just wasn't in a good place. But I was holding them back, it felt like at that time, to a large degree, because I wasn't as able to be my best self for the band anymore. Like I remember there was times in the studio where I'd come in to work on Lovers, Fighters, Sinners, Saints, and I'd be super late and just a mess and barely be able to get anything down. And, this was taking up the time of the guys in the band, and just pushing the record was already behind schedule. So, it was looking back, it's a sad chapter of Odd Project. It went down that way, but, I take full ownership of it. And we've since the band obviously has made amends since we're all back together again. But it was definitely it was interesting. It was an interesting time, and put them in a precarious spot for sure. But I did record some songs for the album. I wrote majority of the songs that are on that album with the band, but it was just I didn't finish recording them ever, and so it made more sense to have the next vocalist that they had to choose from to take care of that business that the band was going to continue on. It just seemed like a logistically wise decision to make.
Yeah, I remember I was a fan back then, so I remember when you left, and I felt sad. But I also remember when the album came out, and I got it, the physical copy at home, and I opened it up, and the first line was like, "Odd Project wants to thank these people," and it said like, "We want to thank Matt Lamb for the last 6 years." And I thought, this is so sweet, because there's a lot of drama when band members quit, and here was a band that was just thanking the previous member instead of like talking down on him, or which is much more common.
Yeah, that's so sad. So many bands have horrible things. I mean, because really living it out, it felt like a VH1 Behind the Music episode. Like, back in the day, like all the band drama and stuff that was happening, like because of me causing it in my life, in the band's life and stuff. But yeah, looking back, like, I mean, it wasn't like a negative, like severing. The guys were very gracious. Obviously didn't put anybody in a good position, but like, they were they're my best friends to this day for that reason, that they wished me well. Like, it wasn't like a happy thing, but like, it was bittersweet in a sense for me, because I felt like, okay, like I have a freedom now in a sense, because I didn't feel like I could handle the band anymore. Looking back, it's like wasn't the best decision, but I made some really bad decisions following that as well. So it was just a trend I was in. I finally broke years later. But so I was gonna say it was really cool the band did that. They honored me in that and stuff, and like I think that kind of paved the road for like maybe one day doing something. It wasn't what we ever thought would happen. I don't think most of us that we would get back together, but it kind of definitely like left an open door in my opinion. Even though I never considered it for years, it still was there, I think.
So how was it for the rest of you guys when Matt left? Did you know Michael Jagmine from before, or did you have auditions? Or
we were definitely sad to see Matt go, because like you mentioned, we were all best friends in high school, and it was a situation in which we weren't going to see much of Matt in the future. So, it was unfortunate, and we wished him well, and I'm glad that it was amicable, because like you said, kind of paved the way for where we're at. But we didn't know Jag. We had to hold auditions for a new singer. So I don't remember how many people auditioned, but we got it down to 2. And Jag was the overall, because he had a good singing voice, and he actually learned how to scream for that album, which we thought was incredibly impressive. Yeah, and it wasn't too dissimilar from Matt. So in the screaming sense, we just did the best with what we had at the time.
Yeah, the album turned out great as well. I think the different pitches between you, Scott, and Michael creates a very interesting listen through. You have a softer, more lower pitched voice, and he has a super high pitched voice. Yeah, and it creates a very good dynamic. So
thank you.
I think but I have heard the demos from with Matt.
The second album, that Lovers.
Yeah.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
Christian spilled the beans, y'all.
Oh, yeah, those
what
are
he
in
been
popular
saying, man.
circulation.
Yeah, I hope he doesn't get any shit for this, but it's actually a funny story because I was in my old apartment. It was about, I think, 2008. And my brother and I were having a gaming session. We were having a nostalgia weekend, so we were playing through Mario 64 for the Nintendo 64, and somehow I found Christian on MySpace. I think his nickname was "It's 1 2 3 Baby." And I wrote him and I asked, "Are you the Christian from Odd Project?" And he was responded, "Yeah, it's me." And we wrote back and forth. And I think I sent him a picture of. I have the speeding heart tattoo from the early demo on my stomach, so I sent him a picture of that, and he was like, "Do you want to hear some unreleased tracks with Matt?" And I was like, "Yes." So we sent them over. So me and my brother, who is also a big Odd Project fan, we spent the whole weekend playing Mario 64 and listening to those demo tracks over and over again. So that's a good memory from
That's
back
awesome,
in the day.
man. That's awesome.
Yeah, I don't want to spoil too much, but I think we're considering redoing one of the tracks with Matt on it from the Lovers album.
Oh, really?
Yeah, just for fun.
Yeah, we'll
see
tease
how
that
it
out
goes.
there. Yeah, we're gonna see how it goes. Because I mean, I did those demos do exist. I tracked almost half probably of the album before I left the band. So I
think there's 5 tracks on the demo.
Yeah, and not all of them I think made Lovers, Fighters, Sinners, Saints, but we've always kind of had that itching of to put at least one of the songs off it, maybe put it out with me on it just for fun.
Yeah, baby, I'll never regret a thing. You've been looking for screaming your name in a train. Easy come, easy go. I know you can. Hope you enjoy the show. I'll tell them, look on your toes. A single minded but my multi-cell. It's just a little, yeah, I don't know. No one here is gonna tell. Stop. That's all you love, just have to rise. And I don't know what to think. Yes, down, 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 down. Stop. I know you want just what I got. The ship's starting to sink, and honey, you ain't got anything. She runs the airway, pictures face down on the floor. Let's start this scarlet hero with hopes of a better things to come. I saw it in your eyes, just like the last time. I hope you realize I can see right through, I'll see right through you.
After the album, I think some other guys left the band, right? Was it Eric and Greg?
Correct.
Yeah. After Matt left. By the way, Greg. Yeah, there's no hard feelings with Matt having to deal with his own thing. We all saw it and saw it was coming. So there's no harsh breakup. We just wished him well. But yeah, after we got new singer, just felt kind of like I was in talks with a manager at the time that had proposed a tour to go over to Europe, and at that point either one person was still in school, they couldn't do it, and the whole thought about just almost not restarting, but kind of doing a U.S. tour again without like, the 5, original solid dudes that we all had so much in common with. I mean, we fought like hell, but all we do remember is like the good old days. So after that, I just called it quits because the Europe tour kind of fell through. The album was out, so we had to hit the road. And there was a pause on that, so it just kind of fizzled out. For me.
Yeah.
No hard feelings there. It's just my out. Eric can speak to.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, same sort of thing for me, kind of like lining up with Greg there. And it was kind of like, for me, it was like a vibe changed sort of thing. And we didn't seem to be on like the same sort of path or the same sort of trajectory, I guess you could say we were once on. And it's the same sort of idea, I guess you could say, reasoning. And Greg had left. And it was kind of like once he left, I was like, well, this seems like the time. And I think I was maybe like a week or two after that where I was just like, maybe this isn't for me right now sort of thing. And I did try to just like have a continued creative outlet sort of thing where I could just record music at home and eventually turned it into like a one-man band side project. Sounds kind of goofy and everything. And it was supposed to be very silly. It was what it was. And for me, I was also just somebody who's spending more time just working in general, like trying to do like 40 hours a week, sort of laborious sort of. I'm a working man. And I was stuck in that sort of mindset. And so suddenly I didn't have as much time creatively for music. But so for me at that time, it was just I was going a different way. And it is what it is.
Yeah, Scott was Christian was the most original member that stayed in the band, and Scott was the next one after. So I stepped away. Greg was next, then Eric, and then Scott. What was your experience, Scott, when it kind of fizzled out then?
I mean, pretty similar to the rest of you guys. After most of, you guys, the originals, had left, it was just a different experience. I liked all the other guys, but it was just a little bit different. So, and I was getting interested in some other types of music at that time as well. So it seemed like a good chance to step away, try something a little bit different.
Yeah, I remember the transition. It seems like it happened really quick, the member changes, and suddenly there was like no original member left. Maybe Christian was still in the band, and but I remember the MySpace page change its appearance, and I think at one point the guys were like, we're still making music, but we're gonna change the name to something else because none of the original Odd Project members are in the band, something like that. But then Jag joined A Skylit Drive, and I guess that put the final nail in the coffin, or so to speak.
Won't you say my name for the first time?
Yeah, he saw us fizzling out too.
Yeah,
Yeah.
A new singer couldn't revive it at that point.
Yeah,
even.
congrats, all the congrats to Jag. He's amazing.
Yeah, he's a hard-working musician. And a couple of us have reconnected with John as well. Shout out to John in the Skylight Drive.
Yeah, John is,
Yeah, he's a great dude.
I think if you want to go that way, if he hadn't gone to A Skylit Drive, maybe you guys wouldn't have this reunion now, because Odd Project might be a whole other entity now instead of...
That's a good point. That's actually true, And it's interesting, an idea that popped in my mind while Scott was talking about like his different music interests, which is kind of like a fun fact, is that I think back then genres were a little bit more pigeon-toed. Like now, as the way you're saying, you could have access to anything. Like music also kind of bleeds in. Genres bleed so much more fluidly now than previously. It was more cut and dry. Like when we were having harsh screaming vocals and like clean guitar parts or like clean singing even like in the same track even was really new at that time. Really, that wasn't like a played out concept at all. So now it's interesting because you know, I think that it did kind of end it too, because I mean, we all kind of had different musical tastes. Like now it feels very freeing to be able to make whatever music we want, you know, and still want to make heavy music and music that is close to our roots as a band, but feeling like we could also experiment, I think, has allowed us to get back together at the same time. And fun fact, when we all ended up dispersing those years ago, we never really, Scott was in a band, several bands in that time as he went on to pursue his musical career. He could talk about more as like from behind the mixing board and stuff like that. But the rest of us didn't do music after Odd Project at all. It's kind of crazy up until when we reunited again. We never were.
Yeah, it's really weird.
Right? It's pretty rare at least, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, most people have like 7 projects going and stuff like that. You guys were just like, nope, this is it.
Yeah, we talked about that as a band just recently, and we thought we found amusement in that as well. Like kind of like a self-reflection moment, like how odd, you know, odd project, but dude, no, it was interesting in the sense. Yeah, I was always surprised thinking about it. For me, I had never crossed my mind even to pursue that. I felt like a chapter of my life had kind of ended, and I had like my own things that were kind of holding me back from considering it even, which like a whole rabbit hole. But like, I think I always thought, at least for the other guys, like Greg, Christian, Eric, I knew Scott was involved in music somewhat, but I was always like, man, I can't believe these guys are not doing music, because they were all such phenomenal musicians. It just blew my mind to know that we all didn't keep doing music. It was kind of crazy.
Yeah, but I guess we should we move on now to the new music, if that's all right with you, or is there something you want to talk about the past?
I feel like we fleshed out it's been a very good vibe, very natural conversation. It's been really fun hearing your input about things. So thanks for letting us like interject and question you as well, turn the tables, because it's always fun for us to hear that. And yeah, I think it's a good transition into, well, what we were all doing different things. When did we decide to get back together? How did that happen? So I'll let someone else start off talking about it, because I kind of got in the party last.
Yeah, so this is Greg. When me and Scott tossed it back to me, like he hadn't written a metal hardcore song. And at that point, I didn't even touch my guitar. You know, going back to when I first left. Yeah. So anyway, when Scott pitched the idea that he wanted to write a song, I said I'm down, and picked up the guitar for the first time in 15, 20 years. Playing the hardcore and metal. Just to sum it all up, as soon as we heard that Matt was back in California, and we had already started kind of laying down a couple ideas, it was like, when he's back in California, we have to make this work. If it's even just one song or not, it's like, he's here, we got to get him. Let's do this.
Yeah. So I lived out of state for the last 10 years. I just moved back to California this previous October, so almost 1 year back in California. So I was out of the state for a decade, literally, in Montana and in Utah, doing completely different stuff. Some related to music, but not from a writing aspect, or definitely not the same genre of music, more like a production standpoint from like a live event. But yeah, I was completely out of it. I was married, had a whole different life. And so the band had approached me. I think they got together maybe once before they got me on a call with them, but it was kind of just like a long time no talk. What's everyone doing? And that was kind of it. No one even said like we should come up with a song at that point, the very first time. Yeah.
Yeah, and when Matt moved back into California, it was kind of the one thing that was like, okay, this is possible now. This is something we could do if we wanted to. So it really started the gears turning.
Yeah, when we actually got together, or when we got the calls going, I think we did like one and then did another one like pretty shortly after, because we were like, oh, that wasn't enough time to really even talk about stuff, like what's everyone really been doing, and then that kind of idea of like, it's like, it felt like, because in 2023, I don't know how it is out there culturally, but probably similar with social media, but it seemed like it just was the last few years, maybe like after COVID, right around the end of COVID era, like where there was like a big resurgence in like the scene in post-hardcore, metalcore and stuff. And so that's what kind of like, I think kind of all of us were like seeing that. and being like, we were kind of there. Like, at least that was my thought before the band even got together. It was like, man, it's so crazy seeing all these like memes and stuff that like people, that was what I was doing. That's what I was about, you know, and like kind of yearning for the band again. Cause like, that was my connection to it. Cause I wasn't involved in it again for that period of time. But at the time when we met, even when we said in the, 2024, like this time last year, I wasn't for sure moving to California even. That's what's crazy. So the band wasn't even like putting like that. Where we're at now was so far ahead of where I thought we would be. I had I wanted to. It was exciting, but my life was in a whole different spot. So I think everyone didn't. I don't know. How do you guys feel? Like, because for me, it was a temporary. It wasn't a for sure. Like I thought I could be out here for a month, 2 months, 6 months. I was just going through a major life transition, and so I didn't really know. I knew it could have been long term, but once the opportunity presented itself, like thankfully Scott has his own studio. And so I was like, yeah. And to me at that time, I'd been on a microphone a lot over in that time, but that was from like a hosting standpoint, maybe an interviewing standpoint. So I hadn't actually screamed or sang into a microphone for almost 20 years. Hadn't written lyrics for 20 years. Almost hadn't, put anything to music in that time. So it was very like exciting, but scary getting into the studio again. So, but it was definitely like, maybe just one song, and everyone was really excited though. Like Eric's in a different state and he was excited.
Yeah. I'll pick up real quick here on that note. Same sort of idea. This time last year, doing anything for the band wasn't like on the agenda. Like I wasn't thinking about that. But I was thinking about dudes in the band because Christian was coming out last October so we could go see the big festival When We Were Young, which is basically kind of like a huge emo post-hardcore nostalgia sort of show.
You've probably seen it, right, Andreas?
We're really jealous about that one over here.
Exactly. The thing is, we all yearn for like big tours to happen again, but instead we have these big festivals that happen. And so it happens to be there was one out here When We Were Young, and Christian was coming out just so he could stay with us instead of spend money at a hotel, so we could all go to the show together. We were cracking jokes the whole time, like, why aren't we on the lineup? It's all our era. It's everybody that we played with these guys. Like, we saw Seosin, they were playing, and they're basically locals for SoCal when we were starting out as well. They were also up and coming at Chain Reaction.
Taking on 7 years, that Holy Ghost has left. Test my arms, kick like crazy. I've been trying way too long. Only pushed away.
Within a month's time of that, it was when Matt was deciding, making his change to move out from Utah down to SoCal. And Vegas is on the way. So he's just like, hey, can I stay with you for a little bit? Yeah, sure, no problem. And even then, we still weren't talking about getting the band back together. It was still just like, whoa, this was cool. Remember when this happened? We had a lot of like nostalgia stuff again.
We shared it. We had a good memory.
Catching up on a bunch of different things, and just generally hanging out while he's at my house. But yeah, we weren't discussing the band as in like, let's do it. That wasn't on the mind. And then once it was, once there was a recording, once there was Matt screaming again, once it was like, what do you say, guys? Huh? What do you say? And it was pretty much, didn't take much convincing after that. And at least on my end, it was like, oh yeah, let's see where this goes. Let's see what happens here for sure.
Yeah, and just to put a point at the end of that, I think we were all kind of tossing around the idea, and I think I started everybody had different motivations for wanting to continue to make music, but in my head it was pretty simple. I just wanted to make a song that kind of reflected where we might have been if things had continued differently, So that was the idea, and I think I just wanted to do one song to start. We did one song, and it turned out, we were all pretty satisfied with it, so we decided to make it into an EP.
Yeah, I mean, Scott came up with a few songs, and he's like, I haven't put together anything for so long, and the writing process on this one is like a whole different topic to talk about. It was just so unique, I feel like, and thankful for technology being what it is. We were all able to contribute to this EP, being that we're not even in the same state. So it made it possible for everyone to be a part of the process and to make it all happen still. And so, but once I was out here, I was able to get together with Scott and we were able to pick up. It was nice. We hadn't seen each other for over 10 years probably in person. And we were able to pick off friendship wise right where we left off. And that's such a blessing to be able to like if anyone's listening and they have friends that they like play music with, like, you know, there's a special bond with people that you like spend time writing music with. You know, I don't know what that is, but just in music in general, you know, the friends you go to shows with, like I'm sure you could relate, Andreas, the people that you know, like you just connect with them on such a real level. It's just a weird thing. And I think because of that, the music doesn't change, you know, it's like, you know, that's one thing. Music is what it was. Like, you know, if you have a song from 20 years ago, it sounds the same today, you know, it wasn't rewritten. It could be rewritten, but you know, the concept of it being, it's something that's time, it holds through the test of time, like if a song is up. And so I feel like those bonds, even when things in life change, or maybe your genre specific taste changes, because like we all didn't continue to totally just bump you know, hardcore and music that continued to come out after Odd Project. We kind of all went in our own direction with musical tastes and stuff and our repertoire. So to be able to do that, it's like really cool. I just want to encourage people to hold on to those friendships and to, you know, pour everything into it, because like for me, it's it's been the most rewarding thing to be able to make music with my best friends again. Like, I can't believe I didn't do this for 20 years. Like, well, what? Like, why'd I step away? It's like one of those thoughts. I can't believe, like, and well, like it felt like something looking back was missing in a sense. You know, I had other things in my life that were good things and great things that weren't the band or anyway connected, but like, there was always like my passion for music that was kind of going like untouched, to create and to be creative and express it in that way. So doing it with Scott, like it was just like, it felt so good to get it out and do it. And it was oddly easy, not to like toot our own horns, but we were like, this is coming really like, this is coming out pretty sweet. Like we're laying down stuff, we're like, wow, that's heavy. Like that slaps, as the kids say these days, you know, it's peak returns. And so that's a new one I just heard. So, but yeah, it was just like, we were laying down stuff and we were like, this is really cool. Like it felt like to us, like we wanted to, like Scott said, I really like the way you put that, Scott. That was good. Like I wanted to be like, almost like, this is what we could have done had we like just kept going. Like I don't feel like because sometimes bands, it doesn't feel like pick up where they left off. I feel like, you know, this new EP is a pretty natural progression of where Odd Project was to like where it is now as an EP, like musically, sonically speaking. Like I feel like it's a pretty like doesn't feel forced, because it's not exactly the same as the Second Hand Stopped or Lover Fire Center Saints, but I feel like it's or the demos, but I feel like it's a natural progression. And so, yeah, we're all so excited about it. Like one song turned into two. And I don't know exactly where we said EP or 5. I don't remember if it was 2 songs or 3 songs. I know, but we were like a lot more conscious of that now. Like once we decided we were going to do something, like Christian has really spearheaded, like kind of acting as band manager and really driving the behind the scenes stuff and holding us all to a times table of accountability. At least for me, it really helps. I'm not the most timely person. I blame it on being like a creative, but it helps to have Christian be almost like a robot and be so on it and to store things so meticulously. I love his OCD about it, so it's helped out. But
I think that's true. I've been in bands in my youth, and you do get a special relationship with band members, because it's not just the time aspect where you spend a lot of time together, but it's also, you know, to get real good music, you have to open yourself to the other band members. You have to have a relationship that's perhaps different than you have with just your regular friends or so. So I think that's you get a special bond, as you put it, Matt, with the band members. So. It sounds almost like a movie when you described it.
Yeah. No, I was gonna say, I think thanks for backing that up, because I really want to encourage people to do that, because it is a special, unique thing. I think, I don't know, knowing here now that you've said that as a longtime fan, I'm going to challenge you to like, just because I would like your feedback, but like, I feel like this writing process was the most transparent as far as like inner band, like as far as me explaining what the lyrics are about to everybody, even not just to like Scott or the engineer necessarily or the other vocalist, but to like the whole band, conceptually for songs, talking about like ideas for names of the band or EP. Sorry, not the band. We're still Odd Project, but the EP itself, like really like working together on that. It was kind of a more, I don't know, for me it felt like probably because before I had my like hidden, it wasn't really hidden at all, I was a hot mess publicly, but I thought it was like a hidden addiction kind of, so I think like, you know, probably that aspect I was held back in a lot of ways, even of sharing myself fully with the band. Like I don't think, my songs might have been a little more straightforward in some aspects then, not covering as much of a broad range of topics maybe, as they're a little bit more diversified now, but I still think that, yeah, you open yourself up to it. And when you do, amazing things happen, you know, like I think there's a lot to be said about creating something with people. Like that's why, like, you know, not to get too far off point, but like the conception of a child, you know, like there's a connection between two people that makes something. It's unique. You know what I mean? Like not everybody has those type of connections because not every relationship is one where you connect and make something out of it, you know?
We feel lucky that I think we had the friendship before the music started, so I think we've always been pretty lucky in that way.
Yeah, we were friends before the music, and then the music became like a key part of our friendship, you know. But yeah, and also you probably have experience too, like writing music with people. Like I've never really written music with anybody else. Maybe like a little bit with a couple people or attempted, but sometimes you just click with people, you know. And I feel like we really have that with this band, and we're blessed by that. It's cool.
Yeah, it's like a relationship. It either works or it doesn't. It takes a certain kind of chemistry to make that, to make songs together with people.
For sure, chemistry is a good word for it. Yeah.
Yeah. Speaking of the EP, I was as a longtime fan when I saw the news that you were releasing new music, and I remember I wrote to you on Instagram and asked, is it the OG members and someone replied, yeah, it's the OG gang, and we're releasing a new song soon, and there was like a second for me where I was really, really excited, but also really nervous because you know when something is like
rightfully so,
yeah, but like it's like when something is like a part of your youth and it's untouched, then you have a certain relationship with that, and that's how it's been for me with your music. It's been like those albums have been consistently playing during my life, and I have like like sort of a relationship with you in that way. So this would either like make it or break it, you know. It would be if it turns out good, then it's awesome, but if it turns out bad,
right,
it could
I get that.
Ruin yeah, so I was a bit nervous, but mostly really excited. And yeah, I have to say it sounds amazing. I think the EP is awesome, and I think Scott, you said that you wrote the songs like a continuance of where you were. Is that
so
how you explain it?
Yeah, exactly. The idea that I had in mind was not to write something too far away from the original Odd Project sound. Although we might stray now a little bit more into territory that we're interested in going, but for this EP, we wanted to keep it true to what we were at that point in time. That was the goal.
Like a better, faster, harder, stronger version.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I think you really found a sweet spot between what you did back then and what people in the scene are doing now. Ooh. So it's not. It sounds true to your roots, but it's still something new. And I think also the production blends really well with the old stuff, but it also has that new flavor. how to say it. This is where my language skills are
No,
lacking.
dude.
But
Yeah, no, dude. I was gonna say.
Clip it, man. Clip it. That
Yeah,
sounded
that's
great.
such a big compliment.
That's a great review, man.
Yeah, literally,
Yeah.
like I like that. We've had talks literally about what you just said, like 100%. Like, oh man, we realize it's a fine line that between between releasing something that holds true to our roots, if you will, like our core sound from what we've released before, and also itches a scratch for like in the creative sense of where we might want to go, but there's not like what's the line where we don't push it too much, and how do we make sure it still feels like Odd Project even if it might sound like a better, louder, faster version or something, how do we so to hear that is a big compliment, honestly. What you just said is huge.
Thanks, Andreas. I really appreciate that. And as of this recording, the album or the EP dropped yesterday.
Yeah.
So we really haven't gotten any feedback whatsoever. We don't even
especially
so
just
that's the first real feedback we've
of
gotten.
the whole
I really
thing.
appreciate it. That's very nice of you to say.
yeah.
Yeah, I've been listening to it all day. I've been doing some gardening work in
Nice.
at my house, so I've been listening to it all day, and I think it's an awesome EP, and I think the tracks complement each other, and also you do some different. There's no instrumental track. I was missing that.
Oh, you
True
know,
Art
yeah,
Project.
you're right.
Yeah.
That's good feedback too, though.
What were we thinking, guys?
There might be one in the
Yeah.
works.
Yeah, there may or may not be one in the works.
Yeah, perfect. But yeah, I'm really impressed with the EP, and my favorite song for right now is Asteroids for Breakfast.
Drifting out past shattered dreams, lost in orbit wandering. There's no voices now, just static hum. Am I forever known? I've been like the fools of a man, trapped inside my head. My blood has grown up with something dead. 1,000 years in one breath, still a wreck. Like years away, can't help but regret.
Yeah,
No,
thank
what do you
you,
guys
dude.
think? Is that your heaviest
yeah.
track?
It's either that Asteroids or Bootstrap.
Yeah, or the second track.
yeah.
The second or the fourth. But Asteroids was the last track written for the EP, and I think I went into a little bit of a crisis. I wanted a certain sound for that last track, and I wrote a couple other songs that it didn't.
If
I
anybody,
wasn't really feeling.
This is
so-
actually kind of fun. This might be something people in the who musicians listening to this could relate to. Scott was literally like he was like locked himself to like his guitar and was just writing music for I don't know if it was like 2 days straight. It felt like, but you were just like I don't know, and you kept this. He was just cranking out song after song trying to get what he was going for, and I liked actually what he was coming up with. But I was glad he kept pushing himself because I was really pleased when he came up with Asteroids for Breakfast. It definitely we were intentional with writing heavy, so I'm glad that translated well. Wanting something heavy
and loose.
yeah,
That song has a lot of tempo changes, intentional tempo changes.
Yeah.
Yeah, we definitely like that's the heavy factor is something that like when you're a band that's heavy, you consider, especially when you have like a band like Odd Project that is diverse. It's not just a heavy band, We like that aspect of the music. I don't think it will ever go away. I think it will progress and change over time to maybe more experimental or different ways that hopefully people will love as much as we do as we continue to write. I know what you said real quick. I wanted to say though that when you brought up before I forgot like the whole like nostalgia factor and not wanting it to be ruined. Like I get that. That's like when movies come out. You know what I'm talking about? Like when they release movies that like are remakes of something that was out 20 or 30 years ago. Like. And sometimes those movies are so iconic and like so epic in their sense. You're like, I don't want to. What if they don't do it justice? And so like coming into this project, this EP, like I thought about that. I kind of like internally wrestled with that. Like I want to push us, but like I don't, and I want to do something, but. And I don't want people to be. I don't want Odd Project to be ruined. I don't want the critics of the band to be like, man. they should have never got back together. It was better back when they stopped. You know, it's like, so hearing you say that is really cool that you also felt that, you know, that's a real talk, and that you gave us a chance. Thank you, because, you know, it is the original guys doing what we originally did, only I think a little bit better, hopefully, and having a lot of fun doing it. And we really hope people connect with it too, man. So we're excited to hear the feedback, though, because I feel like it's good to hear every song is, you said, compliment each other, because we also tried to write songs that were different. We didn't want the whole EP to sound the same. Like, we kind of wanted, like, Scott actually wrote the song. Like, we didn't, earlier it may have miscome across, like, he started writing songs right away back to back, but we didn't use any of the songs he first wrote for the EP, actually.
All
like,
right.
we pretty much, we only kind of moved on to a new song once we almost had one kind of done, I think. Possibly Scott could probably talk about that more. He may have introduced an idea when he had it, like, to us, but like, we kind of were like, let's finish this song and then we'll do that one next, you know?
Yeah, we had a couple of ideas floating around at any given time, but I think the first four came pretty smooth. Greg also came up with the Death Trap.
Yeah, Bootstrap, Death Trap, yeah.
Yeah, so that was a song that Greg and I collaborated on.
The doctor told mama, the lawyer, he got me a deal. Now where can I go to get my prescription refilled? I think so. Number of sets could keep us from getting it. They shall make me. Tell me how they go. They shall make me. Tell me how they go.
Those four went well. It was just kind of that last one that gave me a little bit of a hiccup.
Yeah, yeah.
But that makes me, even more happy now to hear that that's the one that you like.
Yeah, heck yeah, that's
Yeah,
awesome.
that's my favorite. So far. I've been doing some hard manual labor today, so
Dude,
the EP was
perfect.
like the
That's
perfect theme.
for it. Yeah, that's so cool. Yeah, it's really neat that like technology is what it is, because everybody's able to bring creative ideas to the table to turn into songs now and stuff.
Yeah.
In a way before, where like you could record stuff before, but like it probably wasn't going to sound very good at all if you just did it in your bedroom. And like if you wanted to share that with other people, like they really needed to like know you musically, or kind of have an idea what you're going for, to really kind of like hear an idea, like to like grab it and be like yes or no, you know. Now it's cool. Eric could send us stuff and we could be like, heck yeah, like let's roll with that, you know, because he could really execute like just recording in his room like an idea to us, you know. And Christian could send over a part and whatnot, you know, for drums. And it's just really cool being able to do that with technology still, because you know, we have songs in the works already. More songs. I will tease that. Like we already have some stuff we're still writing, you know, and we're excited to keep putting out more.
Awesome.
But yeah, I was gonna say, I'm glad you like that song. I'm glad to hear it's your favorite. We're always interested to hear like what is gonna be received the best. I feel like do you feel like how do you feel? Do you feel like because it is different than each album, it's different than the Secondhand Stop, just in the sense that you know, production wise, but like just the songs as well. Like Scott sang clean vocals and I screamed only, and this time we both like we both balanced that a little bit more. I sing a little bit more. We you know, we tried to keep the sound like I said, original, but still like listen to where music's at and the inspiration. Yeah, I was gonna say, compared to that, and then obviously Jag is a completely different singer, so that was coming in the mix. Like we had a kind of a fresh palette to show something that people haven't heard before altogether. Like we play off the nostalgia a little, obviously, but at the same time, we've really seen a cool influx of like new listeners, of like teenagers, you know, listening to it, finding the band, which is crazy.
Yeah, Andreas, I had a question. Did you, when you were listening to Asteroids, did you, and you hit that bridge, did you notice that was Matt singing?
No, actually not. I don't think
Scott brought that up, actually. He's like, I wonder if people are going to notice that you're singing on the album on songs now.
Because Matt sings on those, on Asteroids, and he also sings the chorus of Bootstrap.
The second song, yeah.
Yeah,
that's awesome.
Yeah, so that's a little bit new for us.
In my mind, I think I've always thought about it as Matt do some, maybe not singing, but you always did like those talk ups
Yeah,
or
like,
talk
yeah,
downs
talk
after
parts,
screams. Yeah.
Yeah, this
Yeah.
time-
So I always thought about you too, like having a kind of dynamic in your.
Well, thank you. I appreciate
voices.
that. I appreciate that. Yeah, this EP challenged me, and I think part of that's just like, you know, progression as a human, like trying something. It's like, I don't want to do what I did exactly before, but I don't know. I just feel like at this point in my life, I'm more disciplined. So like, you know, Scott's a great coach. Like he's really helped me like push myself in this. And I feel like, you know, all the guys in the band are so talented that like it's cool to be able to contribute that too.
Yeah. I was just wondering, since you haven't as a band or even as separate members written heavy music for so long, do you think that was like a positive thing going into this album? Because if you were in other heavy bands the last 15-20 years, maybe you have developed other sounds or other things that would be thrown into the mix when doing Odd Project again.
That's possible. Yeah, I don't think I've considered that before, but it's possible. This is Scott. I think, I played several different styles in between the first Odd Project iteration and now, but I try, like I said, I don't think this album will reflect much of that. I think it's pretty trying to stay true to, you know, the 2005, 2006 sound. But the next singles might be a little different.
Oh, exciting. It's hard for me as well because I'm not really biased here. I'm such a big fan, and also I'm such a big fan of that era. So I just, I love the sound that you have on this EP. But my friend Dennis, who is my co-host on the podcast, he is a bit younger than me. He's 10 years younger, and I was playing the Sound the Alarm track for him on the podcast, and he loved it. He thought it was amazing, and he's not like nostalgic for your band or anything like that, like I am. Was it hard to go back to screaming? Because I've done some screaming in bands and stuff like that, and I feel like it's such a I'm missing the English word here, but it's not something that you just pick up and then don't do for 10 years and then pick up again. It's like a fresh. It's like a daily fresh thing that you have to. Do you know what I mean?
Before
was it hard?
Before Matt answers this, I want to tell you one thing, which is that I had the same question in my head before, you know, Matt came over to the studio. But Andreas, you can listen to Sound the Alarm, and the first scream on Sound the Alarm is the first scream that Matt did when he came into the studio. So,
all right,
that
question answered.
answered the question pretty quick.
Andreas, it's one of those things where I know what you're talking about. It's just like any muscle with screaming, though. At least for me, like, so how I got into like screaming, how I learned to scream wasn't even like the practice that helped being able to be in the band and practice and scream in the garage every week, you know. But I actually practiced when I was a teenager, when I was like a 15 or 16 or whatever. I worked at this little deli, this little Italian deli that had a big walk-in freezer that I had to restock. And so I'd go in that walk-in freezer by myself and I would just belt and I would just practice screaming as loud as I could. And like, sometimes I messed my voice up pretty bad. Like, I did it wrong, but I think it helped me learn how to do it. Not tonally to like find the sound I wanted, but like at least how to do it to not like wreck myself and not like injure myself, cause I didn't even like ever really have any problems like touring and stuff like that. Like, I think I like subconsciously learned how to do it in a safe way. So this time around I was thinking the same thing and then it came naturally and I was like, oh, okay. I noticed though that as I'm trying to like be a little more dynamic with my voice, still doing like more like kind of, there's a part in Sound the Alarm that's kind of shouty, like spoken word kind of, and it has some yelling, singing in it too. It's like that bridge on the song. Like I'm trying to add some more like diversity to it. So I noticed that I have to be careful though, because for whatever reason, I'm still learning to like sing clean the proper ways. Like if we're tracking and I have to alternate between like screaming parts to singing parts, clean singing parts, it actually does like strain my voice. It's odd. I know that doesn't happen once you like kind of. So for me, I think it's just that repetition, like you were saying, the daily thing. Yeah,
tapping into the old muscle sense or whatever you
muscle memory. You're totally you're right.
Muscle memory. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, but I feel that about your voice as well, Scott. It feels like when I listen to it, it hasn't aged. I think you have the same tonality or whatever is the word as you did back on the old records, and that kind of blew me away with both because instruments are like always sounds in a certain way, but voices and tonality changes with age, but I think you both have a very similar sound.
Thank you.
In your voices.
This is Greg. I tell the guys like all the time, this is like, it's crazy. After 20 years they sound better than they did before, especially Scott. Like Scott's hitting notes that he didn't hit before.
Yeah,
it's crazy. And Matt's scream, it's like more pronounced. You can hear almost like what he's saying. It's just it's crazy.
It's so fun with one of I think one of the videos that you put up, and it's like I'm seeing these dads essentially maybe not in a real sense, but like from a viewpoint, it's like you're like me in your 40s, but the sound is like from a 20-year-old perspective, so it's messes with my mind.
That's great to hear. This is Scott again. I appreciate the compliment. Yeah, I mean, I think I was a bit kind of as surprised as you were. Something about the first two albums, though, I was never very satisfied with the way my voice was recorded. And so this time around, I got to record it in a fashion that I was satisfied with. So I think that had something to do with it as well. But also, I love high soaring vocals. And so I'm always reaching to hit notes that are probably out of my range. But
I hear the sirens singing in the distance, tempting to call my name. 'Cause the chemicals wear us down in the end. I say there's no going back. So don't you forget when the chemicals wear us out. Can the love we lost ever be found? When the chemicals wear us out in the end.
Dude, Scott's an amazing singer, though. Yeah, so it's really a big compliment. Thank you to from both of us. Like because that's definitely, I think I know what you're saying though, because like voices do change over time. Just as people age. And so it's one of those things where if you don't sometimes sing all the time, then you might sound different 10 years later when you pick up a microphone. deeper
Yeah,
or
and you
softer
might
or whatever. Yeah,
want to
so that's
as
really
well.
that's a good compliment, because like I feel like Scott does have like he had what made him a great singer before already. Like still like it's him. You could tell it's the same guy, but it's just
Yeah.
better now. It's just more it's not like fake sounding refined, but it's just like I feel like he knows the assignment now better, if that makes sense. At least I feel like that for myself anyway.
So you talked a little about the lyrical themes on this EP that you were working harder on the lyrics. Do you have like a lyrical theme for the whole EP, or is it just track for track?
So it's a little bit more track by track. But intentionality, like each track is like specific with an idea, and they kind of don't like intermingle. They all kind of like we try to choose a name. Like the name of the EP kind of summarizes like the connection of all the songs.
Yeah, the arguing with the Richter scale is kind of a trying to deal with forces in your life that really you have no control over is kind of the overlying theme.
Yeah.
I think.
Like, yeah, it kind of has a meaning of like, arguing with a Richter scale. Richter scale, like if anyone's listening, they don't know, it's what they used to measure earthquakes with. I think they have a new way now, but essentially it measures like disasters, if you will. So like kind of the idea that you can't argue against like what happens in your life that's already happened, in a sense. Like things happen and you can't, how you change them, but like arguing with the Richter scale kind of like is also maybe just confronting that, like looking at the disaster in a sense, because all the songs have a different theme, like, but at the same time, like that idea of arguing with the Richter scale, of trying to challenge the impossible in a sense, like within yourself maybe, is an idea you could apply to all the songs, though, we felt. Right on. Andreas, what's the scene like out there?
Yeah, it's funny actually, because it's been like a period now for maybe 10 years before COVID, when there was nothing happening here. We had a really big scene here live in Gothenburg. So Bring Me the Horizon, Architects, and many other bands recorded their albums here in
Nice.
a legendary studio. So
High quality production.
yeah, exactly. But we had a lot of bands playing here in Sweden during the early 2000s and the 2010s, but then it was like a black hole for like 10 years where nothing happened, and after COVID something just a switch just flipped, and suddenly the bands are coming back to Sweden, and there are new bands, Swedish bands that are making awesome music, but it's like tapping into that 2010 emo post-hardcore scene, and a lot of bands are making a comeback, and we like bands like Ice Nine Kills are bigger than ever, and I think Craig Owens is bigger than ever as well, even though he's been in the scene like forever.
Right, makes sense.
But yeah, but I feel like there's something happening now that can only be that I only seen like around maybe 06, 08, when like My Chemical Romance and AFI was.
I think you're right, man.
Emo prime.
There's something like in the water right now, and I don't know if it's like a global sense of like what this music kind of connects you with, like feeling wise, something about that, like that is giving it like a resurgence, in the sense that it's even getting bigger than it ever was. That's a good way to put it, like you said. So like I was gonna quote one of my favorite movies and go, "So you're saying there's a chance?"
Yeah.
That's a Jim Carrey line. I don't know if he's as popular in Sweden, but
I'm so glad you still say that to this day, because I still say that to this day.
You guys have In Flames in Sweden. Your metal. It seems like your metal scene never goes away, right?
except for that 10-year period.
Yeah, we have a pretty like true base here, but even here in Sweden, it was like put on hold for a few years, and I
like
feel it was. Yeah, and I think it like collided with the whole house music. Took over the world for a while.
Like even pop music, everything had like a very house-centric, like house-driven influence for sure.
Yeah, And I also think that people our age are now getting more time to consume music and going out to shows, because many of us have reached an age where we have children that might have grown up a bit and stuff like that, combined with a younger crowd that has the same interest.
Yeah.
Might be kind of like that for us too. Like we used to just take things for granted, before COVID, and maybe when COVID hit, and everything started popping up again, and it was like, now's our chance to maybe get out, and actually go to shows and actually not just be there just because the scene was there and it was something to do on a Friday night, but actually like get into the music again, and be a part of something, again, like from your past.
We're so excited about that. Just like being again, that's really encouraging though, just talking about how the music scene is flourishing right now. I think that's true. I know that flourishing in a sense of like growth in the sheer number of like bands and artists and therefore like fans growing and stuff is one side of it, and I know the financial side is a whole nother side of it. So like I know that might not always reflect it, but I do think we're in an era like I don't know if you'd say decade or what, but I think like this is definitely an era of time. If you were to look back at it, you'll say like music was just popping off in general. Like music was being created at a mass volume.
Yeah. So what are your future plans for the band?
But we're so excited. Like we would love to like play some festivals maybe in the next year. Like, there's a lot of logistical stuff to go into it since we're not all in the same location anymore. And we might not be able to headbang as hard, at least for myself, at this age. But yeah, we're hoping if we ever do get on a festival, like it would be so cool to go to Sweden. That would be awesome.
As of now, we don't have too many plans. Like Matt mentioned, we would play a show or possibly a festival if we got the opportunity. But as of now, we had so much fun making the EP that the pretty plan is basically just to keep releasing singles. We're just going to keep writing songs and putting them out.
Yeah, we're going to keep we're going to keep promoting the EP, so spread the word, you know what I mean? And we're still kind of gauging, would we ever tour again? Like, is it possible, and we would love to play some shows together again if we get the opportunity. We're all like on board for it. So yeah, we're throwing that out there. But with the promotion of the band and with more new music coming out, just stay tuned in. We'll probably have some merch hopefully in the next few months, maybe around the holidays. There's lots of exciting stuff, hopefully.
Heck yeah, can't forget the merch, dude. Yeah.
No, I'm looking forward to new T-shirts.
Cool.
Yeah, that's the end of the interview. I think we have a few minutes here.
Thanks for having us, dude. It's been a pleasure to talk to you. You're a very enjoyable dude.
Well, thank you.
Awesome.
Yeah, really happy.
Successful Saturday night in Sweden, man.
Yes, exactly.
Well, this is technically like our first interview, first kind of review, and first kind of getting to talk to an actual fan. Not just over the computer.
Yeah.
So many thanks and props to you, man, for giving us the opportunity and for you to reach out to us. We appreciate it.
Yeah, man.
Sounds good.
Awesome, man.
Thank you so much,
right.
Andreas.
Appreciate it. Thank you so
for
much
this
for all your time.
and all your time, bro. Have a good Saturday night. Yeah, we'll stay in touch for sure.
Yeah,
Heck yeah,
have a
keep in
great
touch.
day. You as well. All right.
Thanks,
All right, man.
Okay, take care. Thank you.
You too.
Later.
We are just silver screens. but you're